so much. Thank you so much for having me, firstly, and also thank you for those who have joined live and for those who are watching this on replay. Today, I'm going to be teaching you 7 essential habits that you can start implementing from today. So I don't want this to be the type of workshop that you come along to and you're like, that was great, and you just go back to doing the same things that you've always been doing. I want today to be all about inspired action. I want you to start thinking about, what am I going to stop doing? What am I going to start doing? We're going to start creating these really healthy habits. Now, when it comes to habits, they say it takes 30 days to create a habit and 90 days to make it a permanent lifestyle change. So it's going to take some work. It's going to feel a little hard, but over time, it will just become something that you do automatically. Now, a habit, just so you know, is where your body knows how to do something better than your mind. And a really good example of this is perhaps you have like a jam of jar and you've always a jar of jam that you've maybe put in a cupboard and you have always had it in this cupboard, and then one day you're like, do you know what, I think it would be better in another cupboard. So you basically move it, and then you, for a period of time, you will go to that cupboard and you will open it, and then you'll go, oh yeah, your mind takes over and you go, oh yeah, that's right, I moved it. It's because what's happened, it's become a habit. It's become something that you don't even think about. It's just become something that's part of your subconscious, something you do. So that's what I want us to start doing today. We basically want to start creating these really healthy habits. And I just want to share a quote with you that I absolutely love. It's by someone called F.M. Alexander. And he said, people do not decide their futures, they decide their habits. And it's their habits that decide their future. So we really want to start getting these habits ingrained into your subconscious so you just do them automatically. So a little bit about me, because you might be thinking, who is this Karen Farrell? I am a corporate wellbeing trainer. I specialize in mindfulness and breathwork, and I am passionate about helping people to create daily habits to improve their well-being amongst the chaos of modern life. I never used to be into well-being. I actually worked as a facilities manager. So I basically managed the operations of buildings. So I always say to people that I helped their outer world by making sure that the buildings were running effectively. And now I help their inner worlds, because at the end of the day, well-being starts from within. So I want you to start taking some notes, and I want you to start taking inspired action with these 7 healthy habits that I am going to be teaching you today. So I'm just going to share my screen. Right. So what are these 7 healthy habits? When it comes to habits, it's all about taking small, simple, achievable steps, because if you keep these habits small and simple and you achieve them, they're more likely to become a permanent lifestyle change. So I like to keep everything really simple, and I have made this a mindset formula. So I want you to write that down, and I want you to start checking in with your mindset every day, because these are the 7 habits that I'm going to be teaching you. So the first one is mindful breathing. And I'm going to be teaching you a really simple breathing exercise that you can start doing from today. The second one is identifying the positives, finding the good in every day. Because let's be honest, when you're having a bad day, you need to deliberately and actively look for things that make you feel good. Then we move on to noticing your thoughts and feelings. We have approximately 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Most of them are negative. So it's about how you can stop a negative spiral from beginning, or if it has begun, reduce its momentum. Then we move on to the D, which is do something you enjoy. This is the self-care element, because self-care, as we know, it is not selfish. It is essential for your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about sleep. We all need to be getting more sleep. And I'm going to be sharing with you 3 simple things that you can start implementing from today to ensure that you have a good night's sleep. Then we're going to be talking about exercise and energy, getting moving throughout your working day. I'm not talking about going to the gym. I'm talking about moving throughout your day, because we lead these sedentary lifestyles that we really want to think about how we can start bringing a bit more physical activity into our day. And then finally, taking a lunch break, or just taking a break. So that is the mindset formula. So I really want you to start checking in with your mindset every day. So we're going to move on to the first healthy habit, and this is mindful breathing. Now, this probably won't come as a surprise, but learning to breathe better to reduce stress is probably the #1 way of reducing stress quickly and effectively and easily. Research suggests that just 1 minute of deep, intentional breathing is enough to eradicate the stress hormone cortisol from your bloodstream, which is amazing. So I'm going to start by teaching you a really simple breathing exercise. It's called the 4-7-8 breathing exercise. It's very famous, but it's a great one for just getting you less stressed and getting you into a really nice, calm state. And the way it works is we breathe in through our nose for the count of 4. We then hold our breath for the count of 7. And then we breathe out for the count of 8 with like a sigh or like an audible sound, like you're fogging up a window. And the reason we have this audible sound is that helps to activate our vagus nerve. This is the connection between our mind and our body. And that's what tells our body to slow down. That's what tells our body that we are safe. And the reason we hold our breath is to help to reset our breathing, because quite often when we're feeling a bit stressed or a bit anxious, our breathing becomes very erratic. We start breathing short and shallow into our chest. So by holding your breath, it just helps to reset our breathing. And then when we breathe out, that longer exhale, that is going to activate your parasympathetic nervous system. This is your rest and digest calming response. So we're going to do this 3 times together. I'm going to talk you through this. So we basically breathe in for the count of 4, hold our breath for the count of 7, and then breathe out for the count of 8 with like an audible sound, like a sigh. So here we go, getting really comfortable in your chair. And we're going to do this 3 times. So breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out, 2, 3. Audible sigh, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And just allow your breathing to return to its natural rhythm. So that is the 4-7-8 breathing exercise. Really simple, but really effective. So I want you to try and remember this. And what I want you to do is I want you to link this to something that you do every day. So today is all about taking inspired action. And when it comes to habits, it's not so much doing it that's the problem, it's remembering to do it. So what I want you to do is to take this breathing exercise and attach it to something that you already do that's going to become your mindful trigger. So that could be something like every time you look at your phone, because how many times do we do that a day? Maybe every time you touch a door handle, every time you put your password into your laptop, that's a great one. Or maybe before you start a meeting. And a really good one that someone shared with me once was they said, every time I make a cup of tea and I turn the kettle on and the time that it's taking for the water to boil, use that as an opportunity to just check in with your breathing, do the 4-7-8 breathing exercise, and just de-stress. So have a little think about what could be your mindful trigger. Either write it down or make a little mental note and use that as your cue to take a breather. So that's the M. So then we move on to identify the positives. Noticing the good in every day is strongly and consistently associated with greater happiness. It helps you to feel more positive emotions, relish good experiences, improve your health, and deal with adversity. So I want you to just take a moment now. Just think of something that you're grateful for, or something that's happened that, made you feel good. Either write it down or just take a mental note. Just think about some positives that have happened, maybe this morning or yesterday, because here's the thing. When we feel low, when we feel down, when we are not feeling our happy self, or we're maybe not feeling as resilient, we need to deliberately and actively look for things that make us feel good. Because often when we feel low, everything is just very doom and gloom, and we view things really negatively, and it can send us into a downward spiral, which can then really affect our mental health and our general well-being. So what I want you to do is every day is to give yourself a positive debrief. Write down 3 things that have happened that day, no matter how small, and celebrate your wins and successes. Now, this could be something that you achieved, something that you found of interest, maybe something you learned, something that made you laugh, maybe a positive interaction with someone or with a colleague. Noticing what's good really encourages positive thinking. Because when you think about the positive events and the people in your life, you start to create these new neural pathways in your brain that help to create positive thinking as a habit. Okay, and remember, it's all about habits today. Now, doing this, it not only trains your mind to think more positively, but if you're not having a good day, if you're maybe having a bit of a down day or a bit of a bad day, you are learning how to identify the positives despite the difficulties and the disappointments. Yes, your train went late, it ran late, but it gave you an opportunity to maybe just take a few breaths or enjoy a cup of coffee. Yes, something went wrong at work. It didn't go according to plan, but you learned a valuable lesson. Gratitude is the root of all happiness. So you really start thinking about the positives in your life. And I just want to talk a little bit about happiness, because we all want to be happy, right? This is like a universal fact. But as soon as you think that happiness is something that comes from outside of yourself, I hate to break it to you, you will never, ever be truly happy. This is because happiness comes from within. Happiness is a choice. And as soon as you associate happiness with something outside of yourself, like, I will only be happy when, I will only be happy when I get that dream house, get that dream job, get that pay rise, get that promotion, your happiness is flawed. This is because you've taken the power of your happiness and you've placed it on something completely outside of your control. Now, what happens is if you don't achieve this thing that you thought would make you happy, it can set you back into negative thought patterns. And even if you do achieve the thing that you thought would make you happy, research shows that you actually just go back to the same set level of happiness as you were before. You just keep moving the goalpost. I've got the house. Now I want a bigger house. I've got the pay rise. I want a better pay rise. I've got the job. I want a better job. You just keep moving the goalposts. So you need to be happy with what you already have. And this is where gratitude is so powerful. It is the root of all happiness. So really start getting into the habit of every day writing down 3 positive things that have happened that day, or 3 things that you are grateful for. And you will see that your mood, your well-being significantly improves. So now we're moving on to the N. Notice your thoughts and feelings. So we have approximately 60 to 70,000 thoughts a day, which is a lot of thoughts. 80% of those thoughts are negative, and around 95% of those are repeated thoughts from the day before. We are hardwired to think negatively. Now, this isn't some human design fault. It is basically, it goes back to our caveman days, where back in the day, like, we didn't want to be happy. We just wanted to survive. We just wanted to live, Like, if we survived, that was a good day. If we planned for the worst, we're more likely to survive. But the problem is, we are born with this glass half empty view of life. We are hardwired to think negatively, and this can just send us into negative spirals and thought patterns. So what can we do to positively change the way we deal with our thoughts and feelings? Well, I've come up with a formula that I'm going to share with you. But before I do that, I just want to share with you this quote that I love by William James. And he says, "The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another." You have a choice about how you deal with your thoughts. So I've come up with another acronym, or another formula. It's called Mind Shift. And SHIFT stands for stop. How am I feeling? Identify and interfere, focus, take action. And this is basically a process that I want you to use if you find yourself in a bit of a negative spiral, because what it's going to do is either going to stop that negative spiral from beginning or reduce its momentum if it has already begun. So I'm going to talk you through this. So the first step is to stop. So a negative thought pops into your head like, I'm useless, I'm terrible at my job, or something like that. The first thing you want to do is stop and acknowledge that negative thought. And even sometimes just kind of putting your hand out like that, like stop. That just helps to just break that circuit of negative thinking. Now, when you pause and you stop and you give yourself some space between you and your thought, it helps you to recognize that this negative thought has popped into your head, and then it enables you to move on to more helpful ways of thinking, responding, and behaving. This is because when we get caught up in a negative thought, you become what is known as fused with this thought. This means that you and your thought become fused together and become one. So thoughts like, I'm useless, I'm terrible at my job, they fuse together, and you basically start to believe that negative thought, and then you let it define who you are and your reality. But when you stop and you put space between you and your negative thought, it changes your relationship and your reaction to your thought, and it puts you in a better position to disempower them and use them as a cue for positive action, which is basically what we're doing with the shift formula. So then you want to ask yourself, how am I feeling? Like, how am I feeling in this moment? Am I feeling stressed? Am I feeling lonely? Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling tired? Your mood can powerfully bias and drive the way you perceive things. So if you're maybe feeling a bit low and this negative thought comes into your head, you might start to believe it because you're just feeling not your happy self. Now, a thought, just so you know, a thought is a mental opinion or event that occurs suddenly in the mind and is heavily dependent on your mood. So really ask yourself, how am I feeling in this moment? So you identify how you're feeling, and then you interfere with this negative thought or self-criticism. You ask yourself, is this thought making me feel bad? Is this thought true? Is this thought absolutely true? What evidence do I have about this thought that I'm thinking and feeling about this situation? Am I just thinking this thought because maybe I'm feeling a little bit tired or stressed or anxious? By challenging this negative thought and by loosening your grip on what you think you're certain of, it helps to free you up to start thinking and responding in more positive ways. The next thing you want to do is focus. Focus on the present moment. So much of our life is spent thinking about the past or worrying about the future. Now, when we think about the past, we tend to ruminate, which means we analyze or obsess over life situations or events without actually solving the problem. And when we think about the future, we tend to project worries, concerns, worst case scenarios onto a future that hasn't even arrived yet. Now, there is a quote that I love, and I'm going to share it with you. It's by Mark Twain, and he says, I have known a great many troubles, but most of them never happened. Most of them never happened. Now, I think we are all guilty of this, where we have something coming up in the future. Maybe it's an event or a situation or a conversation that we have to have. And we just waste all this time and energy, stressing and catastrophizing. And then the event happens and it's not that bad. And you think, my gosh, all that energy I wasted, all that sleep, all those sleepless nights that I wasted worrying about something, and it wasn't that bad. So what you want to start doing is focusing on the present moment. And this can be difficult for some people. So I always say, focus on something outside of yourself, just to bring you back. Focus on something outside of yourself. Focus on your senses. Get out of your head and start thinking of something outside of yourself. So this could be listening, just closing your eyes and just listening to the sounds around you, or maybe just really tasting your cup of tea, or maybe doing some breathing. Just get out of your head and focus on something outside of yourself that's going to bring you back to the present moment. And then finally, you want to take action. Take action by breaking that circuit of negative thinking by doing something physical. So that could just be like getting up, going into another room, or going and making a cup of tea, or having a shower, or going and talking to a colleague. Something that just that breaks that circuit of negative thinking. So I'm going to talk you through this. So it's the shift formula. Stop. How am I feeling? Identify, interfere, focus, take action. So I want you to imagine this negative thought pops into your head, like I'm useless, I'm terrible at my job, or something like that. So this negative thought pops into your head. So the first thing you do is you go, stop. Right, that is a negative thought right there. So I'm just going to stop it in its tracks. I'm then going to ask myself, how am I feeling? Like, how am I feeling in this moment? I'm feeling a bit sad because I had a really bad night's sleep last night and I'm just feeling really flat. Right, so I've identified how I'm feeling. I'm then going to interfere with this negative thought. Is this thought true? No, it's not true. I'm just thinking this thought because I'm feeling really tired today and just feeling a bit irritable. So what am I going to do? I'm just going to focus on my breathing. I'm just going to do the 4-7-8 breathing exercise. And now I'm going to go and take action. I'm going to go and make a cup of tea. It is as simple as that, the shift formula. It's going to help to stop a negative spiral from beginning, or if it has already begun, reduce its momentum. Thoughts are not facts. They are your mind's version of events. Remember that always. They are not facts. They are just your mind's version of events. So challenge those negative thoughts. So now we're moving on to D in the mindset formula, and this is do something you enjoy. This is my most favorite section because it's all about self-care. Now, I think self-care should be called self-discipline because you need to be disciplined when it comes to self-care. Because when people say to me, Karen, I don't have time for self-care. So I have 2 small children, so I have a lot of sort of mum friends, and they always say to me, Karen, I don't have time for self-care. What you're really saying is I'm not a priority. And I mean that from a good place, but that is really what you're saying. You're saying I'm not a priority. So you need to be disciplined. You need to start looking after yourself because, like I said, self-care is not selfish. It is essential for your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. So creating a balance between working and not working is essential when it comes to your well-being because sometimes it can feel like work is literally taking over your life. You spend most of your day there. And then when you get home, you're checking emails and you're checking your phone and things like that. So to create a healthy work-life balance, or as I like to call it, work-life harmony, you need to make sure that both your work interests and your personal interests are being met because, working long hours and staying in, work mode for long periods of time is going to have a negative effect on your physical and mental and emotional well-being. So what I want you to start doing is to start having a me day. So you don't necessarily have to do this, but I'm going to basically share with you something that I used to do. I used to do what I called a me day Monday. It was all about me. I didn't care what was going on. At 5 o'clock, I would shut my computer down and I would go on to do a yoga class. And then I would go and sing with a pop rock choir because it was just a bit of fun. Now, obviously, if it was something, like some sort of catastrophe, then like I would stay back. But more often than not, 5 o'clock, I was out that door because at the end of the day, the emails can wait. The responses can wait. And what this did was this gave me a higher purpose. It gave me a reason to get out on time. And it actually made me feel in control of my working day rather than my working day controlling me. So I don't do the me day Mondays anymore. But what I do is every day I get up half an hour before my family wakes up, just so I can have my coffee and my breakfast in peace, because this is really important to me and it helps to set me up for the day. So I want you to start thinking about what are some things that you can start doing from today that is going to be all about you. Which then leads me on to another activity. draining and sustaining activities. So what I want you to do, because remember, today is all about taking inspired action. So I want you to start writing down, or maybe just making a little mental note of all the activities that you would do on a regular basis during the week. So just kind of writing this down, making a mental note. So this could be, going to work. Maybe you've got regular meetings. Maybe you go to the gym some nights. Maybe you pick kids up from, I don't know, school, and you go onto a gymnastics class. I don't know. Just kind of think about all the activities that you do on a daily basis. Now, looking at these activities, I want you to look at the ones that drain you. What activities bring you down, make you feel bad, just feel heavy, they drain you? And I want you to put a D next to them. And then looking at these activities, what activities sustain you? What activities bring you up, lift you up, make you feel good, bring you joy? And I want you to put an S next to them. They're your sustaining activities. So you might be looking at this list and going, gosh, there's loads of draining activities and no sustaining activities. So is there a way that you can maybe reduce some of your draining activities and increase some of the sustaining activities? Now, bearing in mind that there are some things in life that you absolutely have to do, right? Like you have to go to work. Maybe there's meetings you have to go to that you find draining. Is there a way that you can make them your mindful activities? So perhaps you, maybe before a meeting, you just do a few deep breaths, you get into a good, frame of mind, or maybe you identify some positives. You take a moment, you're like, right, picking up the kids or putting the kids to bed is like a massive trigger for me. I'm just going to spend a moment to just identify the good things that have happened that day. Is there a way that you can make these draining activities mindful activities if you can't get them off your list? Because here's the reality. When you feel stressed, overwhelmed, burnt out, the things that you enjoy doing the most, these activities that sustain you, lift you up, make you feel good, they're the first of the activities to fall off your list. So you really want to see how you can balance out these activities. Now, a really good example is I used to sit on a lot of committees. And what I found was some of these committees were draining me. And they were taking up loads of time. They weren't bringing me much joy. And I just wasn't really enjoying them. So I left. And you know what happened? It freed me up to do the things that I wanted to do that brought me joy. So just have a little think about some things, some changes, some alterations that you can make during your working week and your working day. So now we move on to sleep, another real passion of mine. I have 2 small children, so it's very rare that I get a good night's sleep. And I love this quote: a good laugh and a long sleep are the 2 best cures for anything. Because let's be honest, after a good night's sleep, we just feel so much better. Now, sleep loss inflicts devastating effects on your brain. It makes you irritable, it makes you depressed, it makes you anxious, it impairs your memory, not to mention the physical effects that it can have on your body. It can lead to heart attacks, infertility, weight gain, obesity, immune deficiency. I'm not trying to scare you, but when it comes to sleep, we can only go 4 days without sleep before we die, which is pretty scary. And I have gone periods of time for months and months where I have survived on 3 hours sleep because I've had kids that don't sleep and they've just been waking me up. And I can tell you right now, I really thought I was going to lose my mind. Your amygdala, that's the monkey part of your mind, takes over. You're in a constant state of rage. You're irritable. It's really not a nice place to be. So you really want to start respecting your sleep and you want to start prioritizing it. And I want to share something with you, which I just think is mind-blowing. Due to scientific evidence of just how bad sleep deprivation is, the Guinness Book of Records has stopped recognizing attempts to break the sleep deprivation world record. Now, here is the scary thing. The Guinness Book of Records deems it totally and utterly acceptable for a man to ascend 128,000 feet into the air in a hot air balloon, wearing nothing but a spacesuit, open the door, free fall back down to the earth, passing through the sound barrier whilst creating a sonic boom with just his body. But the risks associated with sleep deprivation are considered far, far higher. Far higher given the scientific evidence. So we need to start giving our sleep the respect it deserves. So how can you start having a good night's sleep? 3 things that you can start doing from today is to establish a routine, a bedtime routine. If you are a parent, you will know the importance of a bedtime routine. Bath, teeth, book, bed. It works. Start creating a routine for yourself and making it a habit. Because when you have a consistent routine, your body learns when it's time to sleep. Your body and mind become accustomed to certain cues and activities that help you to prepare your body for rest. So start getting into a routine from tonight. Avoid screen time and conceptual activities. We all know this. The blue light emitted from smartphones, computers, TVs can interfere with your sleep by suppressing melatonin production. So avoid screen time and conceptual activities. Conceptual activities are activities like intense conversations, replying to emails, working or responding or reading intense documents. All of this can arouse your attention and suppress your natural sleepiness. Perceptual activities, on the other hand, is things like doing the dishes, going for a walk, listening to music. All of this can help you to slow down and get ready for sleep. So if you are someone who works right up until bedtime and then wonders why you can't sleep because your mind is buzzing, what I would recommend is that you make some adjustments to your evening routine. After dinner, do your work and then save the dishes, the folding of the laundry, walking the dog, or taking the trash out for later in the evening, because all of this is going to help to slow down and help you to switch off. So this is the only time where procrastination really can pay off, by not doing the dishes and things like that. And then finally, turn your bedroom into a sleep sanctuary. What does your bedroom look like? Is it clean? Is it cluttered? Is it a calm space? Is it a chaotic space? The more you turn your bedroom into a sleep sanctuary, the better off you will be. So now we're moving on to E of the mindset formula. So this is exercise, this is energy, this is all about getting moving during your working day. The World Health Organization considers inactivity to be the 4th biggest risk factor for global adult mortality. This is because we now lead these sedentary lifestyles. So if you think about your daily routine, you probably take public transport to work, or maybe you drive to work, or maybe you just went from your bed to your desk, because let's be honest, we've all been known to just roll out of bed and go straight onto a meeting with the camera off. You basically then spend long hours of your day sitting down. You then go home in the evening, slouch on the sofa, and all of this is done sitting down, and all of this is done in a working day. So if you spend long periods of every day sitting down, you are classed as sedentary and are at risk of developing health-related problems, even if you do the recommended 150 minutes of moderate exercise a week, such as running, walking, or going to the gym. So if sitting is the problem, could standing be the solution? No. Okay, it is about getting moving throughout your working day. I used to be a workstation assessor. I was that person who would basically go around and make sure that your screen was at the right height, your chair was at the right height, everything was set up correctly. And like, I don't want to be big-headed, but I prided myself on giving the best workstation assessment you would ever have in your entire life. But I would always say to people, I'm going to set you up with the best posture you've ever had in your life. But unless you get up and move, your muscles are going to fatigue and tire, and you will still end up with back pain. So it's about keeping everything lubricated. It's about moving throughout your working day. So how can you do that if we're sitting down all the time? The first thing you can do to make it a habit, set a reminder. Every 30 to 60 minutes, just get up from your computer. Just, I don't know, stand up, do a few stretches. That's all it takes. Talk face to face, go old school. Remember that before emails, we used to actually talk to people rather than emailing your colleague who's literally like, I don't know, next to you or two, seats down. Go and talk to them. Take the stairs, not the lift. I just think this is so easy to implement. I used to work for a company that were on the 7th floor, and basically it was quicker to take the stairs than the lift because the lift would stop at every floor. So I started taking the stairs. And you know what? It got into a habit. It got me moving. It became just something I did. I just didn't even bother with the lift because it was so slow. So maybe you could turn waiting time into moving time rather than, standing around when you're waiting for a meeting room to become available or the photocopier to become free. Rather than just sitting there or standing there and twiddling your thumbs, go for a walk. Stretch, just doing some stretching can be really good. Drink more water. So I put this down because so many people do this, and I've been known to do it as well. You have your 2 liter jug of water on your desk, so you make sure you drink lots of water, which is a great thing because you want to stay hydrated. However, you end up just sitting. You don't get up and move. So I would maybe recommend that you get up to get your glass of water because, again, it's going to get you moving. Organized water king meetings. This used to be a really big thing. They're more effective, they're quicker, and you're moving. A good old walk and talk. So these are just some simple things that you can start implementing from today. So finally, the T of the mindset formula is all about taking a break, taking a lunch break. Now, it is estimated that 56% of employees do not take a lunch break. So I am going to assume that half the people watching this don't take a lunch break. And more often than not, the reason that we don't take a lunch break is because we think we're going to be more productive by eating through our lunch break and staying in this working mode. But scientifically speaking, your brain can only work effectively for 90 minutes and needs approximately 20 minutes to recharge. This is because the neurons in your brain, they get tired, and just eating and sitting at your desk is not a good way to replenish cognitive stock. So you want to start taking a break. Now, I don't know how true this is, but I read this once ages ago and I've always remembered it. And it basically said that by not taking a lunch break, your productivity level goes down to the same set level of productivity as if you had had 2 pints of beer. Now, like I said, I don't know how true this is, but I think there's a fair amount of truth in that. When you've had a couple of pints of beer, you become a bit, I don't know, you become a bit demotivated, you become a bit tired, you're not as responsive, you maybe say things you shouldn't say. So I think there's maybe a bit of truth in that. So you really want to start taking a break so you can replenish your cognitive stock. And I want to share with you a little case study. And it's about a lady called Laura Archer who wrote a book. This was back in 2016. She wrote a book called Gone for Lunch, 52 Things to Do in Your Lunch Break. She basically decided to reclaim her lunch break. Now, a lunch break doesn't have to be your full hour. It can be just 20 minutes away from your desk once or twice a week. This is going to make a positive difference to your mood. Now, when Laura was interviewed by the Evening Standard, they asked her, what was the main difference that she noticed by taking a lunch break? And she said, I didn't actually realize, the positive effects of taking a lunch break until I hit a really busy period at work. For 3 months, I didn't have time to do more than just rush and grab a sandwich. My mood became incredibly overcast. My energy levels dropped and my, attitude towards my job plummeted. But as soon as I started taking a lunch break, things got better. So what I want you to start doing, because today is all about taking inspired action and creating these positive, healthy, sustainable habits, I want you to start reclaiming your lunch break. And I want you to start thinking about some things that you can start doing from today. So I want you to basically have 4 columns. I want you to write down 4 columns, and I want you to put active, sitting, inside, outside. What are some things that you could do that are active? Perhaps that's going to the gym, maybe that's going for a walk, maybe a run around the block, maybe doing a yoga class, taking the stairs. What's something that you can do in your lunch break that's active? If you can't get outside, or you really are stuck at your desk, what are some things that you can do during your lunch break that is sitting? Perhaps you could do some stretching. Maybe you could do some desk yoga, just YouTube something. Maybe you could just switch off, just look away from your screen. Just doing that, just looking out a window, you can just feel your brain relaxing. What are some things that you could maybe do inside if you can't get outside because maybe the weather's not very good? Could you just do some reading? Could you do some writing? Could you maybe learn a new skill? You know, learning a new skill will help to challenge you and give you a sense of achievement. And if you can get outside, what can you do outside? Maybe you could just be with nature. Maybe you could just enjoy meeting some new people or going for lunch or just enjoying the fresh air. So start thinking about some things that you can start doing today that's going to make you have that lunch break. So this brings me to the end of today's session, all about creating healthy habits. So habits are formed by taking small, simple, achievable steps. So by doing the mindset formula every day, checking in with your mindset, you're going to start creating these healthy habits. So I really want you to start thinking about, you know, what are you going to stop doing? What are you going to start doing from today? And remember the quote that I shared with you earlier? People do not decide their future, they decide their habits, and it's their habits that decide their future. So start looking at your habits if you want to have a healthy, happy future. So thank you so much for having me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So thank you so much for having me. It has been an absolute pleasure. Good luck. Remember, it takes 30 days to create a habit, 90 days to make it a permanent lifestyle change.
Thank you so much, Karen. That was really useful and really helpful. I will, as always, be sending the recording out later today or tomorrow. And yeah, so thank you. And you can find Karen at Mindful Station.
Thank you so much.
Bye all.